All right, so welcome to Room 5. My name is Eddie Mitchell. I'll be your presenter for today's equity session. I hope this session will do three things for you. Number one, empower you. Number two, show you how you can proactively make your school website more, promote equity more. And number three, to allow you to get some ideas about what you can do to make your school website more accessible to everyone from all nationalities and all races. And this is not just for the teachers and the principals at the school. We're talking about all the stakeholders as well. So how do my parents get involved? Okay. And so let me go ahead and share this information with you guys. Let me share my screen. And I really don't need the sound, but I'll put it on just in case. And here we go. Let's see. Hold on. Take this down. Screen here. Oops. There we go. All right, so using your school website to promote equity and inclusion. I'm going to be asking questions, and at any time you can respond to the questions in the chat. I will address any questions you have at the end of the session, just so that we don't run out of time. Just be aware that I do have to end at 12, so I will try to get to your questions before that time frame. So I will try to move a little bit fast to kind of make sure we have enough time, but I believe we should have enough time. Okay. So again, using the school website to promote equity and inclusion. All right. So the first thing is you want to develop what we call an equity website vision. And all this amounts to is you want to ask yourself basically the following question. And it's very simple. How can we celebrate and showcase diversity and inclusion online? Now, when you ask yourself that question, understand that it's not just about showing that I have an African-American, dance event. It's not just showing that I had a Hispanic Heritage Month activity. It's about celebrating and showcasing the diversity. So it's an intentional act on your behalf or on the people who are responsible for the website's behalf or the school's behalf to intentionally celebrate and encourage that diversity and inclusion. It's not sort of this accidental thing that happens because I put up a picture on my school website that showed the girls volleyball team, let's say, winning the state championship. So how do I make sure that I establish an equity website vision? Well, ask yourself the one question I posed there, okay? And in the chat, you can answer it. How can we celebrate and showcase diversity and inclusion online, okay? And so this is going to help you kind of flesh out where you guys want to be. Getting started. The first thing that you want to do is utilize your school's equity plan to decide what content should go on the school website. Now, when you look at the school equities plan, and let's say you don't really know what that is, or you don't, or you know what it is, but you're not really that familiar with it, you can reach out to your equity liaison and just ask them, hey, you know what? I know that you're the equity liaison, but I want to get more involved in establishing a more inclusive school website. And how does that fit into our plan at our school? And they should be able to either print out the plan and give it to you, or they should be able to verbalize it to you. And in either case, that'll get you started. Okay. The second thing that you can do is start with the end in sight. I always tell people, what does in the website that you want, if I was able to give you a magic wand and you were able to create a website, how would it look? What would it be able to do? What will it do for a person looking at that site? So always start with the end in mind. So then that way, you know what your final product is going to be, and it gives you direction. Show enthusiasm and brainstorm ideas. It's very important when you want to motivate others that you are motivated. So they can feed off of your energy. They can feed off of your enthusiasm. So you have to be passionate about what you're doing. You have to be passionate about what you're trying to do, but at the same time, what you want to do is provide that pathway for that synergy to flow through everybody so that everyone now develops your passion. Okay? Write down all ideas before you decide on how you're going to use or implement anything. So don't worry about, wait a minute, how are we going to do this? All you got to worry about is actually just getting the ideas down, and then in that way, you can decide what you're going to use and what you're not going to use. Okay. Keep in mind that when we are looking at information, anybody's information at all from this website, you being critical of anyone. What this is about us working together toward a common shared vision of how we expect things to operate. And I do apologize because I'm sharing my screen, and at the same time, I have to let people in the session. For those of you that's just joining us, we just pretty much got started. There was some technical issues that looks like Roxy and Camille straightened out. So thank you for being patient with us today. But I'm just going over, how do you get started? The next thing you want to do is ask some leading questions. For example, how can we celebrate diversity? How do we promote inclusion? How do we showcase nationality? These are some leading questions that's going to help you and your team, if you have a group of people, like-minded individuals at your school, flesh out what exactly that website vision is. So remember, you got to have a vision for where you want your website to be. Look like. I'm going to ask that if you do have your mic on, you can go ahead and mute. I can mute you. That's fine. I'll mute it. Let me see if I can mute all. There should be something there. Hold on. Just gonna hit. Let's see. Okay, I think I've muted everybody. We can get back to it. Okay. All right, so now, once you have established your vision, and I think people in general take this vision establishment as a big deal. And what I say to that is, establishing a vision is very easy. All you do is look at where you want to be. Where do I want to be at the end? So the end in sight. This is what I want the final product to look like. This is what I want it to feel like. This is the experiences I want my parents to have, my stakeholders to have. So start there. Okay, so this is what I want it to look like. Okay, so now, where am I at now? So now you look at your current state. I advise people that before you look at your current state, first decide where you want to be. Then go back and look at your current state. And the reason I say do it in that order is because you don't want your current state to affect your vision. Right now, your vision is totally, I would say, not related to what current state is. Okay? So I don't even know what the current state is. All I know is I want parents to be able to go on my website and feel that they can celebrate their own diversity and celebrate the diversity of others in an interactive way, if I want it that way, okay? And then I go back and look at my website, our school website or the district website, and see if it brings my audience there. And so now I can take some action steps on how we get there. And so that's why I say start at the end. That way, that from that insight, you're going to develop your vision. Okay, so I'm just going to back up again for those of you that just came in. All right, and I'm not going to hit it too long, but the first part of this website, developing a website that's equitable and inclusive and celebrates that, is you want to develop an equity website vision and ask yourself that single question that's going to help you. How can we celebrate and showcase diversity and inclusion online? Okay, that was getting started. Here's what I did at Lanier-James Education Center. All right, so what I did was I created a Microsoft survey using forms, okay? And what I did was, again, I thought about what the end was. But the end for me was I wanted people to be able to tell their story on our school website, okay? And so what is their story? So I kind of say, well, now keep in mind that on my survey, I do ask for a name, and I encourage all of you to ask for names. All right. However, on the website, names are not published because it's not about your name. Okay. I ask about the pronouns that you want to be referred to as. I ask about a religious affiliation. And for those of those that don't have one, they can put NA. You have to select whether you are a student or staff, parent, or other stakeholder. Okay, I talk about your nationality, talk about your race. Where's your mother from? Where's your father from? So all of these things you're actually putting in the Microsoft Forms, and the forms is actually attached to it. But keep in mind, look at the vision statement that I had. Why are we doing this? In an effort to promote diversity and celebrate differences. In that first line, I've already talked to my stakeholders and informed them just what it is we're trying to accomplish. Okay? So understand, hold on 1 second, make sure everybody's in here. Okay, sorry. All right. Understand that when you're trying to establish your vision for your website, you have to share it with your stakeholders. And what's even better is if you can get together with like-minded people and establish what your overall vision is for the school. But let me caution you, don't wait on anybody, okay? So if this is something you're passionate about, you go ahead and get the ball rolling. Others will join. They will feed off of your energy. But don't sit around and wait for nobody to join you before you can get something done, because you can do it by yourself if necessary. Okay, so our school is featuring students and staff on the website, Facebook page, and Instagram to share and celebrate their diversity, culture, and traditions in order to authentically create an environment that supports the No Place for Hate initiative. Okay. If you are a student, a parent, or staff at Lanier-James Education Center and have not completed the Cultural Corner form, please complete the form. And there's an interactive document. There's a live link where they can actually click on the form. So make sure that you have a way for those people that want to be a part of the process, that want to be a part of the celebration, to join. And that's a very important piece, because once you get others like-minded, whether they're parent, whether they're administrators, whether they're teachers, whether they're other students, to join your cause, that now is going to create this sort of snowball effect, and others will kind of congregate around it because they're going to see it as something that you feel is important and that your team feels is important. Okay? Make the information relevant. So you got to be when you look at your information that you're asking for, the one question I would say that you need to have a real answer to, so don't just put it in your mind and say, well, you know what, I want to have an authentically, a website that authentically celebrates diversity, but I'm scared to ask that question. Ask the question, is the information relevant to our stakeholders and our school? Okay? Because now that forces you to now look at information that's coming in and decide and be selective on what information you put on your website. Because you want to have information that's relevant to promoting, remember that vision that you had, diversity and equity on your website. And you want to engage others. So make sure you ask that tough question. I know sometimes people just avoid it, but you want to really look at it and look at the information and make sure it matches the vision that you have. Brainstorm information, okay? What can be displayed on the website? Again, the best practice I can give you is on the form itself that you create to gather your data or to gather your information. And I showed you how I did it, okay? Make sure on that form, you ask for names, you ask for their status with the school in terms of their position. You want identifiable information on that document because number one, you want to make sure that it's like a real person. You don't want nobody just going up there playing on your page, okay? Number two, keep in mind that that information is not what you're putting on your site. So you're not going to include names. Names is not even relevant. What you want to show and what the point is for me to show you how diverse we are at Lanier-James Education Center. So I don't want you to focus on the security guard using a pronoun of, let's say, they. I want you to focus on the fact that we have individuals at our school that make up our entire school that can that associate with that pronoun, okay? Display gender, race, ethnicity. Quotes are very good. One of the things I asked on the form for my stakeholders to respond to is, what do you want others to know about you? Okay, and they responded to it. And again, that's a great question to ask. It's relevant, and it kind of adds, I think, a little more power to what you're putting on your website because they can see those direct quotes, and I don't change them. Okay, what kinds of information can we collect? Information to avoid. Political affiliations, I would say stay away from that because, again, you don't really want to focus on what political party necessarily a person might represent. Religious membership is not really necessary. However, I do ask in one of the forms that I had, I did ask about religion, like what religion do you practice? But you don't necessarily have to include that either. Fraternal orders, whether you're in a fraternity or sorority or anything like that, you don't necessarily have to include that. But again, what makes you decide what you want to include is dependent on your vision for the website. That's why I said it's important to start with that. All right. These are some examples of detractors from the equity goals. Okay. Because if you start talking politics, now people kind of get away from what the website is really intended to do, and that's to celebrate the differences and not to get into a lot of discussion about things that detract from that. Names of students or staff members are not necessary and should not be displayed on the website. Equity vocabulary and culturally responsive teaching should be. Okay, so you can use that equity vocabulary. You can use culturally responsive teaching strategies and things of that nature. If you want to include that on your website, absolutely, you can do that. Okay. Again, here's a picture that, I just kind of cut it out. But if you go on our website, you would actually see it. And The idea here is, again, I want to gather some information about you, about your race, about your nationality, about your parents, where they're from, where's your mother from, where's your father from, where's your mother and father's family from, okay? So you can go back as far as you want to go back, okay? Encourage stakeholder participation. This is key to having a website that promotes diversity. You want to get others involved, and it starts with you. Remember what I told you before, don't wait on nobody. But at the same time, you do want to encourage others to participate. And so you do have to ask this question: how might I encourage participation within the school and in our community when it comes to this website? Okay. So do I have any cultural activities coming up that I want to put on this portion of the website? Okay. Do I have anything that I want to have parents participate and run? Okay. All right. I know that we were doing during the COVID-19, there were a lot of things that we couldn't do. But one of the things that I wanted to do at our school was have a cultural food sampling, whether it was before school or after school or something like that. But because of COVID and all the restrictions with that, I would say, well, we're not really going to do it. But now that we're kind of going a little bit in a more positive direction, we may be able to do something like that. We could do a fashion show that highlights different cultures and things of that nature, and put that on the website, you know, or have people submit traditional attire based on their country. Okay. So these are, again, some ideas. All right. So now how can I encourage stakeholder participation? Get others involved, but don't wait on no one. Do not do that. All right, because one thing that will stop you in your tracks is waiting for somebody else to do something. Okay, 5 ways to get others involved in the planning and implementation. You don't have to do everything. You can get others involved. Get student leaders, parent leaders, teacher leaders involved. Make it fun. Discuss it at a SAC meeting, student government meeting, iZone meeting, any meetings you go to, you should be talking and promoting ideas or getting ideas for what you can put on your website. Make it interactive, okay? And you can decorate your hallway in your schools. And most of us do that anyway. We have a lot of teachers that might decorate their hallways during different times of the year. Some teachers might decorate it all year long and display that on the website. So let me show you an example of this. Here's a wall that I decorated to celebrate diversity. All right. And since our school we're known as the Knights, of course I use the Dark Knight as our, which is Batman. I use that as our sort of symbol. But if you look, you'll see that all of our knights in shining armor have different colors and different shields and different swords and different cups and everything else. All right. And then I say we can't hide our knight pride. And again, this is something I can include on my website. Okay. Information update. It's a good idea to let your stakeholders know how often the information will be updated to reflect your current state. Some schools, like me, I'm at an alternative school, so I have a large turnover of students throughout the year. And so for us, it was really important that we try to update, I would say, quarterly. But for those of you who have a more stable population and you don't see a lot of students coming in and out, then you can do it per semester, okay, or more often as needed. All right. And so what that means is that someone has to be looking at, and here's where your data entry comes in, and here's where your networking comes in, because now I can reach out to the registrar and say, listen, if we get more than X number of students in, let's say 4 or 5 students come in new, I want them to be able to participate in this program that we're running to try to make our website more interactive and known. So just let me know so I can reach out to them and make them invite them to be a part of the process. All right. When you do your updates, it's great to notify your stakeholders of the updates and the changes. So you can do an email blast, you can do a robocall. There's so many different ways that you can try to reach out nowadays to your parents and your other stakeholders, let them know some changes have occurred. Okay, even if it's an app on your phone. All right, display the date until the next update. Again, so you just share this information with everybody. It's not a secret. So everyone knows we're going to be updating the information at the end of the semester, or we have an update coming on. And if you want to be specific about your dates, okay, on May 4th, we're going to do our next update. So now everybody knows that if they have something to add, they have to get it in by that time. Keep everyone in the loop. Making it a working document is also key, because things change, climate changes at your school all the time, okay? We see right now that we're living in a time where we have a lot of undocumented immigrants coming to America. That's gonna probably continue to happen, but that could change depending on the location of your school. That can change the dynamics of the student population at your school. And you still wanna represent those individuals that are attending your school in your school. So assign someone to promote, to look at the updates. Work with your media specialist. A lot of times the media specialist is the designated person that's in charge of the website, but it could be someone else. All right. So ask, hey, who's the person in charge of maintaining the school website? And again, once per quarter or once per semester is a great idea in terms of when you want to do your updates. Last, but one of the other things you want to do is improve visibility. How can we make this information visible to our stakeholders? All right. So I talked about putting it on your website. I talked about allowing the stakeholders to access and click on live links or forms that you want them to fill out. You can also reach out to them in terms of brainstorming, create a form and reach out to them in terms of brainstorming so that they can give you information. You know, you can ask the question, hey, what would you guys like to see more on our website? Okay. All right. Some other ways to make it visible. Use colors, font, different styles of font, graphics. Make it pop up or stand out. Using graphics to promote diversity and inclusion is a very powerful thing. And I'm going to show you again an example of that. Make it user-friendly. Place it in a dominant location on the home page. I know a lot of times what tends to happen is as you look at your school's homepage, the parent or the student has to click on parent or student before they can see that diversity piece that you put in there. That's not what you want. You want it to be on the home page, so as soon as anyone goes to the home page, they can see that you have a cultural corner or that you have something that promotes diversity without them having to click on anything else at that moment. Make it easy to read and links and follow the links. Bring attention to it. Mention it in meetings and with your stakeholders. Make it visible, use tables, use pie charts, use graphics, all right? Easy to follow graphs to display information. Okay, here's an example of this. Okay, and one of the things to note, always thank people for sharing the information, because remember that sometimes people are a little bit skeptical about sharing the information because not really sure how you're going to use it. That's why it's important that when you establish what your vision is, that you share that with your stakeholders, because now they can buy into it. And now it's not just my vision, it's our vision. Okay. And so they're going to be more readily able to share the information with you because they know what you're trying to do. Okay, so in this case, I put a graphic of the pronouns that I prefer. And this, again, that's unique to my school. Every school might be different. You notice right off the bat, if I look at the pie chart, I can tell you that most of the people that responded to the survey at my school are males and consider themselves with the pronoun he or him. I have a smaller piece, she or her. I have an even smaller piece that considers themselves they or them. And then I have another piece over here that they put other. So they don't want to really single out any one of these, or maybe they want to be referred to as a multiple of these things, depending on their mood, who knows? But I always give them that other choice, okay? And then I am, again, most of our students filled this out, but we also had a faculty member, we had teachers, we had support staff, and the administrators, you see, we didn't have our administrators fill that out, but our administrators did support the cause, okay? So here's an example of what I mean. When you go to our website, you don't have to click on anything, all right? Because once you come to our school homepage, you can see right here, I have the cultural corner right there, ready for a parent or stakeholder to access. They can click right directly on it. It says click the above LJEC diversity and join in and celebrate our differences. It's important and powerful when you say those kinds of things because you're inviting people, but we're not just inviting you, we want to celebrate you. And that's what this is all about. Okay. All right, so that's the end of my presentation. I'm so sorry. I did go over by 4 minutes, and I know that I promised that I'll be out, that we would be out by 12. Let me see. Oops, hold on. Get out of this. Hold on. Nope. Okay, let me stop sharing. All right. So I do apologize that I did go a little bit over the time frame. As you can see, I'm very passionate about it. At this time, I'll look in the chat and see if I can address any questions that you may have. All right. And let's see, good afternoon, please make sure you also follow the ADA guidelines. Okay, if you have any questions of the guidelines, okay. All right, I don't see any questions. If you do have any questions, you can sort of ask before we end our session today. But I just want to say thank you all for joining us. I know that we had a little bit of a hiccup trying to get everybody on in these rooms. I'm just real happy that we have resilient people and teachers in our district that continue to try and do things even when it's not exactly perfect. But again, I appreciate your time. And with that, I'm going to end our meeting. Thank you, everyone.